I want to talk about Champions League, and Craig was all over a certain performance yesterday. This is not me pushing this agenda. So all the Sharman haters who say I'm biased and just want to talk about Liverpool, no one else. This is Craig, who was talking about the performance of one Alisson Becker yesterday in a I would say it's a smash and grab win for Liverpool, a game they should not have won. But Craig, I mean, of all Alisson said it was maybe the greatest performance of his life.
Yeah, it was as good as it gets. I mean, they had some luck as well. It could have had a potential sending off. There was a close offside call, but his performance was just on a different level. It really was. They got outshot 27-2 on target, 10-1. He made 5 or 6 world-class saves.
My favorite save, Craig, was the one just before the Elliott goal. And it wasn't the best save by any stretch, but he got down low to his right and the strength of his wrist to push the ball away. So many goalkeepers would have just kind of parried it or just kind of led his wrist, as you call it, straight into the path of the attacker. But he's so strong. He just kind of pushed it and just for extinguishing the danger for that moment. He's such a clever goalkeeper, but physically so many gifts.
Yeah. He's 32. He's right in the peak of his career. He's seen it all. His decision making while under pressure, and I'm talking about decision making when shots are coming in, to whether to go with 2 hands, 1 hand, left hand, right hand, whether he puts some power on it, whether he can even get some lift on it. A couple of them he palmed. He knew he couldn't hold on to it or he didn't want to try. He uses a strong hand to put it up in the air to give his defender some time to get underneath it. All that is planned. So all the saves and where the saves go are all planned. And the technique is absolutely spot on. And his decision-making and his split-second decision-making on what to do with those shots and whether to go 1 hand or 2 hand is as good as I've seen.
I think the one that you're referring to, Sharms, was also my favorite. Because I can't speak to it the way that you can, Forrest, but it's the footwork that he's displaying in order to get into that position. Because was it Barcola who comes in off that left flank, kind of dribbles in between, and then cuts it on his right foot, and then brings it near post where it looks like the space was for him to bend it far post. And it's right along the ground. So he's kind of leaning to his left. He has to readjust his feet and then get down and get that right hand completely on the ground and then parry it out of the way, out of harm's way and out of danger.
Yeah,
so it's incredible.
I mean, you're right. That was a save for me too. Some of the other ones you're like, well, okay, at that level you should, with the height of it and where the distance and all that. But you're right. That one down to his right you're talking about, right? Yeah. With lots of power. Very easy to get yourself in that position where he's going to go a little bit early. But yeah, his feet and the way he moves his feet, adjusts everything is really good.
And then how about he basically has the secondary assist on the Elliott winner?
Yeah, that's right.
Just add that to kind of his list of accomplishments across that game, because as you said, Forrest, like you look at, I think I sent over kind of his stats for the game. You're just not going to better that, I don't think, across any league or even himself. That, like what you said, Sharms, he said himself that was his best ever performance, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes that's within the context of a game and the way that things go, the way that you react. And it might be one save or one moment in the game. And that is what's clear in your mind. And that's attached to a memory or a victory or something. But like, that's where that memory and his performance matches the stats line, where it just looks like, okay, you won't be able to replicate that ever again. It's just a monster performance by Alisson.
I mean, I can't believe that they were outplayed that badly.
Yeah.
It was shocking. It was one-way traffic. PSG can't figure out how they didn't get a win, let alone nothing from it. But on the other side of things, you know, if they play that way in Liverpool, good chance PSG is going to get a result and get what they want too. So they need to be much better. But
that's the oddity of goalkeeping, though, isn't it? A goalkeeper never has the greatest game of his life and can celebrate it with his teammates, because it means they were terrible. Doesn't it?
Yeah, I think in this case, I don't think they expect to be that poor at home, but they'll be disappointed with that performance overall. I think that's the biggest one-sided shots, 25-2 or something like that, 27-2.
Mm-hmm.
And 9 saves, I think it was.
Yeah.
All of them.
Second most shots differential with a winning side in Champions League history, or at least since records began.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's what you want to do.
You know what's
though.
crazy? Craig Forrest spitting stats. Look at him.
Stato.
No, you know what? We've talked about this. Stack stats.
Mm.
Like he will, like on the sly, bust
I
out this
know.
great stat that's extremely relevant and also at the same time out of left field.
We just got to work on the consistency, right? We know the talent's there. It's the consistency. You're that enigma. You're a podcast enigma. That's what you are. Feel like Jimmy. Hey, Jimmy. So back to Liverpool. So it's a bit of a quandary they have here because he's 32. He's still maybe the best goalkeeper in the world. He's certainly up there. This is Alisson Becker. But they signed this guy Mamajvili from Valencia last year for lots of money, and they signed him to be their number one. And he said even recently, "I'm coming there next year to be the number one." There were rumors about Alisson going to Saudi Arabia last year. Are they in a tough spot, or do you think behind the scenes they're well aware of what their goalkeeping situation is for next year?
Well, I think with performances like he had yesterday, it's hard to get rid of an individual like that. If he continues like that throughout the season, you end up winning the Premier League. And if they get to the final, for instance, of a Champions League, how do you get rid of a goalkeeper like that? It's impossible. Absolutely impossible. And especially too, if he wants to stay. I mean, with goalkeepers, and I guess most like modern footballers, I mean, these guys can play to the 36, 37 years old now. So why would you get rid of an individual who's in form right now, is playing some of the best football of his career? Doesn't make sense, even though you've got a guy that's coming in saying, yeah, I want that number one spot next year. And Becker's probably thinking, nah, I'm not done yet.
It's got 2 years left, right, in this deal, I think.
Yeah.
But you would think that they must be aware that he wants out, though, surely. This is what I'm thinking. Why would you sign that guy last year with a current goalkeeper, the best in the world, who is got, at that point, 3 years left in this deal? You got Kelleher, who's a very, very good backup as well, and a guy coming in who says he wants to be number one.
Yeah.
They must have an idea what's going on.
Yeah, you can have an idea of what's going on, but when you're one of the biggest clubs in world football, you can have a number of great players in certain positions to protect yourself, because it is a long season. There's a hell of a lot of games that these players play. So if I can take Becker out and rest him for a match or two, and I know I got a goalkeeper coming in just the exact same quality, nothing changes on the pitch. You look at Real Madrid, you look at all these big clubs, Bayern Munich, the depth that they have, the quality that they have, and they can afford to buy these top players to come in, and that's why they've been so successful over the last number of years, Liverpool. Because
and you don't know what's happening behind the scenes either, and what Alisson is talking about and what he's doing, but he's in his prime. He can stay there as long as he wants.
Craig, really. You mentioned right now you're in goal and you're organizing your wall, right? And you have to just move 2 feet to your right. Can you do that right now? Because we hear the interference and not the
other right,
or left. I don't know. Just we hear the disembodied voices of some distant radio station.
That's right.
Once again,
weird.
It's not that weird. It happens every time.
It really does. It's not weird at all.
But also, Alisson, and maybe this is my memory that's letting me down here, but I think it's just the beginning of this season, how well Slot and Liverpool performed, where you thought there was going to be a dip after Klopp left. And then Alisson had an injury kind of mid-fall, right? And then Kelleher not only stepped in and say cup competitions, and the team doesn't miss a beat. The quality between the sticks doesn't miss a beat. But then it's Alisson coming back in as that number one, as somebody that you expect the quality from every single game. And then he doesn't let his team down. And then, as you said, smash and grab. He absolutely stole that victory for Liverpool away at Parc des Princes. Yeah. Unbelievable.
I think a lot of people don't realize as well that, there is games where you're going to be under the cosh. And you're up against the ropes. Things aren't going well for you. You're getting overrun But then when you have a keeper that's making outstanding saves, standing on his head, it's infectious. It makes you look at one another, the outfield players going, holy shit, we could get something out of this game. And you tend to dig in a little bit more and work that little bit extra just because you know that keeper's saving you right now. It could be 5-0, but he's on form today. And now we've got to push a little bit more and see if we can get something out of this game.
And I wanted to ask Forrest, I heard the little beep. I know that Asa Rehman is probably waiting in the wings here. But conversely for PSG, I know that winner comes late for Elliott. And Nunez, I thought, was brilliant to win that first ball, the long ball that comes from Alisson. But Forrest, for PSG, like on the other side of the coin, where you get a guy like Donnarumma who doesn't have to do a whole lot the whole game, and there that looks like he could have saved it, right? Like he gets his arm to it, but he's not quite as strong as, say, Alisson was the whole rest of the game where he's keeping his team in it. So how must that be for them to deal with it, where when their goalkeeper was called upon, he wasn't able to save them?
Yeah, that's, and you play enough games, that happens too, when you're standing down the other end and you're just wondering, well, you got to think that a team of the quality of Liverpool are going to have at least 1 or 2 shots on net, and it's going to come at some stage. And being able to deal with that, and this is what Alisson is also good at, is standing there, not having much to do for 2 or 3 games at a time. And then to be able to perform like that. It's not all goalkeepers can do that. Some goalkeepers need to be busy all the time. Some goalkeepers don't need to be busy. Quite happy not being busy, but being able to come up with that big save.
I wonder what Craig was.
Yeah.
Craig's having a
happy
smoke,
not being busy.
I never had a choice. I don't know what it's like not to have shots. They're like, he saved 9 shots. What's that?
I feel like Craig's stealing this podcast today. You know,
Great.
he's come in. He's world-class comments. He's elevating all of us right now.
Yep.
Let's bring on Asa Rehman on, by the way. Before
Asa says anything, though, I just wanted to go over up against the kosh. I always wanted to know what it meant, and it means what I thought I inferred that it meant. What's it again, Jimmy?
Under the kosh.
Under the kosh. So what it means is being in a difficult situation, but an actual kosh is either a blackjack or a bludgeon. So it means like actually getting hit in the head with it, like you're
the kosh. What do you call the hammer that judges use?
Gavel.
A gavel.
I mean, that could be a kosh.
It could be.
Right, that would work.